So my kitty has been howling at me all morning to go outside and be in the garden. And so I thought I would follow his promptings and try to beat the hot southern summer heat. Harvest a bit of mugwort this morning, take you guys with me, and we'll take that mugwort inside and see what we're going to do with it with some of the other herbs. I'm thinking smudge bundles, probably most likely. I've got some smoke bundles I need to replenish in the shop. So we're going to go on a little foraging / smudge bundle collecting journey together. And so here she is, my sweet little humble but beautiful patch of mugwort. This is Theo. But mugwort is a fantastic herb. Fun fact, way back when, herbs were actually referred to by the term worts, not as in W-A-R-T, but it's W-O-R-T, and that was just an old folkloric word that we know now today as herbs, and so that's why she is called mugwort. Mugwort because before there were ales made from hops and things like that, mugwort was more readily available, and this is what they actually, if you went to an ale house or a saloon wouldn't be the word. What were they called? Taverns back in the day? This is what you would actually get, would be a beverage made of this, mugwort. Wort for herbs, mug, because you got a big mug of it back in the days when we couldn't even drink water because it wasn't clean. Some of its beautiful features, distinguishing features are, if you can tell, hopefully here on camera, it has this beautiful silver underside. That's one of its biggest identifying characteristics. But she is known as the oldest of herbs. She's part of the 9 healing herbs of the herbal charms. She's a wonderful herb for dreaming and for sleeping, and so I do also use her. She's a main component in a lot of our dream or sleeping pillows. So okie doke, I'm gonna cut a bunch of her down and bring her in, and we'll get working with her. Okie doke, we've got our bunch ready to go. Not a huge harvest, but like I said, I've got a bunch already in the house from last night's harvest, and I think we'll be good to go. So before I pull my other herbs down that we're going to be working with, these are the herbs that I brought in from the garden last night. They have started to dry, I mean, just barely, so they're still going to be good, still going to be pliable for making our bundles. But I just wanted to show you, this is basically how I dry the herbs in my garden, my kitchen. I just bring them in and I hang them, just like my ancestors would have done. There's no fancy methods employed. Simply bring them in, rinse them off, give them a good little shake, and then hang them to dry. That's it. And how pretty does it look, right? It's like a little plant chandelier. Okay, before we get started assembling our bundles, I wanted to just take a moment to kind of say my piece about smudging in general, what smudging is about, why we smudge, basically that. Smudging is a practice that goes back to the first people, the indigenous. I have always equated smoking ceremony and smudging with the indigenous people. For that reason, I'm actually in recent years, in a lot of my research and some of the knowledge that I've come to, I actually personally have decided I wasn't going to use the term smudging, just because I feel like that is really a revered term that is coined by the indigenous people to describe this revered sacred thing that they do. To that endeavor, smoking of the herbs, lighting of the herbs and creating a smoke with them can be a really important ally for us in just our spiritual advancement, in our ritual or our magical practices, because smoking is really something that we do to create a sacred space for ourselves, to clear the air of any negative energies, as well as bring in or promote healing and abundance for us. So it really is, or can be, an important part of our practice for a variety of reasons. And of course, it depends really on the intentions that are being used and the things that we wish to manifest. But it is an excellent helper for that. Another term I found with smudging that can be used is saging. And that is no doubt attributed to the fact that in recent years, smoking, smudging, saging are really things that have kind of caught on as a little bit of a trend. And in the trend, it was using the white sage. My research up until recently has shown that while white sage is no longer extinct, for a very long time that there was a scarcity of it. And so that led me to the path of trying to see what alternatives there were. And when I looked into that, it opened up a whole new world for me for smoking and smudging. And that is to know that all of the mystical, magical properties of herbs, in addition to some of their physical properties as well, could be put to really, really good use through smoking. So while we take a lot of these herbs internally through tinctures or rub them on our skin and absorb them through salves and creams and lotions and things like that, we could also use them in our smoking ceremonies, and they could be just as beneficial. And in some respects, even more catered to what we need than white sage. White sage is not a cure-all for everything. It's incredible, it's antibacterial, and for that reason, I think a lot of people are drawn towards it. But there are many, many other herbs. At this point, I don't think there's any herbs that you can't go ahead and put into a bundle and smoke for your ceremony and have some pretty fantastic results. And so with that, we will go ahead and look at our assortment that we have here, pull them out of our basket, line them up on the table, see what we have to work with. I believe we have 4 or 5 different herbs we're going to be working with and we're going to be putting together. It just so happens all of the herbs that we ended up collecting in the last 2 days are perfect to go ahead and assemble some peace of mind bundles. Okay, so in setting up to get things ready to create your bundles, like I said, I usually like to arrange mine into little bundles, individual bundles. And then as a general practice, I personally don't tend to make more than 3 or 4 at a time. I just don't tend to bring mass quantities of herbs into the house to work with, and I would actually rather put them towards medicine. But I have kind of an overharvest right now, and so that's why I thought it was a good idea for us to make bundles with them. So first things first, I'm going to start with one specific herb that I think I want to be in the center. And the thing with having herbs of varying drying stages, as we do here, it is always kind of easier to create them when they're all entirely fresh and pliable. But that's not what we have here. And sometimes you end up with, like I said, an overabundance. You don't want to go to waste, and you want to be able to put them into bundling. Vervain itself tends to be a kind of not a real moist herb. It tends to be a little drier and on the kind of bristly side. But we're going to go ahead and grab that first, because that to be the base of it. For the simple matter of, you're going to take the crunchier, drier herb in that drying stage, and if you're able to use the fresher, more pliable herbs, you can wrap those around it. So that's our plan of action. So we're going to start with vervain. We're going to go ahead and set all these other herbs off to the side for right now. And we'll start with our vervain. And first thing I like to do is I like to just kind of visualize about how I want the smudge bundle, the size of the smudge bundle I want to be. And like I said, we're going to go in like piles of 3 or 4. I don't usually make more than that. I'm just going to take what I have here and try to build equal piles. Again, that's way too long, obviously, to be a smudge bundle, smoke bundle. So we're going to take that, and I'm going to make another one here. So here are our vervain piles. And I think the next thing I want to bring in is going to be my rosemary. Just as a side as we go along, again, I said these are going to be our peace of mind smoke bundles. And so all of these herbs have been chosen specifically to promote peace of mind. So vervain is going to be our herb that's really an herb of protection. It's a casting out of and a reversal, actually, of any kind of negative energy that might be in our environment. And then we're going to add to that our rosemary. Again, removes negative energy. And rosemary to me is my peace herb. It really brings an amazing sense of peace to your state of mind when you smell it, the aromatherapy of it. Let's go with next our tulsi. Again, you can cut these down, these bigger ones, or I tend to just kind of take the herb and fold it in over itself. We're gonna add that to the pile. Oh my gosh, tulsi smells incredible. And tulsi or holy basil, again, it's a nerve vine, so it steadies or calms the mind. So if you find that in your environment you're feeling very, a feeling of being uneasy or just feeling like the negative energy maybe in the environment that you it's not purposely there, but it just tends to be there, or you're feeling it and it's affecting you, then holy basil is going to be this amazing thing that's going to really just bring you this beautiful peace of mind. Lavender too. Lavender also relaxes our minds, brings us peace of mind. So, oh, this lavender is really big, really tall, which is fine because we're just going to fold it in over itself. Okay, see, and so far we're able to equalize these into four smudge bundles we're making. Okay, so I'm actually going to set these off to the side, these piles, because all we have left to put in is going to be our mugwort. Mugwort is our herb of protection. It works like the rosemary. It alters our state of consciousness to put us in a better place. It helps us to access the dream world. So you find yourself not disconnected from reality, in essence, but just kind of in a better place in our minds. It takes us to our happy place. So that's what mugwort's going to be for these. Okay, and so realistically, you're looking at this is probably going to be about what your bundle is going to look like. I went ahead and just, because you didn't catch it, I took the lavender off the top of the pile and stuck it to the back to kind of nestle the vervain in, the crunchy, you can hear it, the crunchy vervain. And then we're going to take our mugwort, and I guess I'll go ahead and divvy this up into what looks like 4 little piles. Probably could use a little more mugwort than I have here, but okay, I can make do. All right, and then I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to set it. Let's set one on this side. Let's kind of set the one this way. I tend to turn the leaves. So if you've got an abundance of leaves, a bouquet happening here, you can switch it to the bottom this way. Again, don't worry about things that are too tall because we're going to work those in. We're going to be able to bend those and hold those into place while we're wrapping. And so now just begins our wrapping. So I use 100% cotton, like unbleached cotton string. You don't want to measure and pull off because you really honestly don't know how much you're going to need. So I grab my string. I think I'm going to make this the bottom of it. So we're going to fold this stem over, just kind of grab this. I'm going to take my string and I'm just going to wrap it around a couple times. You want to pull it tight, but not too tight. Give the herbs a little bit of area and room to breathe. And then we're just going to go ahead and tie this in. This takes maybe a little bit of practice doing this one-handed, but important thing is it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be secure. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of a... I go ahead and knot it up a second time. Pull on that. And now this becomes your ending thread that you're going to come back to. There isn't a specific, precise way to do this. This is just the way I do it, and it works for me. But everybody finds their own rhythm with it. Okay, so we're going to take our string that's still attached to the bolt, and you're just going to start wrapping. I wrap it at an angle. This will happen sometimes. Your finishing string will pull down under there, but after the first couple wraps, that won't happen anymore. And we're going to just pull it down, and you just keep wrapping as you go along. I tend to not be super quick about this. It takes me a little bit of a time. So I'm looking at it right now, and it's looking a little too long for my taste. So here's where I'm going to take the end, and I'm just going to, and again, it's a little harder when you've got some sticks in there that are a little bit probably dried out more than you need them to be. So I've got a piece here that's not going to want to bend. So I've just very nicely, quickly, gently broke it off. You always want to be gentle with your herbs. I always feel bad when I have to break them off. And then these ones that are left that are pliable enough to kind of bend, I tend to bend and tuck those in. I've just switched directions now to hold it this way so that the top piece is up above me now. And here's where I come in at the end of my bundle and I give it a good little wrap. I think aesthetically that just looks really cool too. And once that's nice and secure, now you're gonna come down and you're gonna angle the opposite direction to kind of make like little crisscross across what you've already got going on there. Any leaves that you see that need to be tucked in, right here, so you've got this here, I am gonna go ahead and use the string to hold that down and make your way back up to your ending string. Here we are back at our ending string. I'm gonna give it a wrap or two until it creates what looks like a nice area to go ahead and tie these two ends together. I'm gonna cut that off. And we're gonna tie this baby up. And we're done. And then all you're gonna do is you're gonna cut off your extra piece right here. And you have a smudge bundle, all done. I have these that I made the other day. These are pure lavender. This one's pure mugwort. Again, you can make them as skinny or as short and wide as you want them, as long and skinny as you want. It's totally your own preference. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and get the rest of these all wrapped up and we'll be good to go. Once your bundles are wrapped, something that's really important to keep in mind is storage. Your smoke bundles are not going to be ready to actually light and use until they've been allowed to dry or cure. Usually that takes about 2 or 3 weeks. Could put them out into the sun. That's a way to naturally dry them a little bit quicker. But one of the best ways that I find to do that, just because here in the South, sometimes the weather can be a little unpredictable. Sometimes we get a raging, thunderstorm, rainstorm that hits and we completely without warning or notice, and I don't ever want my bundles to be stuck outside when that happens. I find the easiest ways to store them is I have a basket, still is capable of holding things, but it's got enough holes in it, it's got really good ventilation. And I simply put my bundles in the basket and allow them to sit in there for the 2 or 3 weeks. Usually a dry place. Obviously, you need to keep them away from any humid or moist areas, because what happens is that they will generate mold, and we don't want to be burning mold into our environment because that obviously defeats the purpose. If you don't have a basket that has large enough holes like this one, you can also dry them on a rack. Another option would be in a regular flat basket, straw basket, small round kind of a plate liner basket. Those also work really well in the event of that. And even if you have a nice well-ventilated basket, just check on them every couple of days. Give them a little bit of a turn. Make sure that they are staying nice and dry. Or another option besides a small round basket would be to hang them up. Instead of clipping off, how when we were wrapping them up, we got to the end and we had these long strings that were our starting string and then our ending string. You could leave those and you could simply tie them at the end and use that to be a hanger, and you could also hang your smudge bundles. That's another option for drying. Like I said, 2 or 3 weeks. It's all about it takes to cure or to dry, and they'll be all set to go. And that's it. I'm back here with my mugwort. Something I wanted to share that really kind of got lost in the time lapse of my gathering process is something I think is pretty important. Every single herbalist, healer, medicine woman, wort hunter, which is my very favoriteest of all the terms, has really pretty much their own traditions and their methods. But it's really kind of, I think, a good thing to remember, that when we are harvesting from the plants, we always want to give back. We want to be able to show our gratitude for the plant. And so, like I said, every single person has their own traditions and their own methods in doing this. Some of the beautiful herbalists that I've worked with, their method to employ is to sing to the plants. For some of us, it's just to take a moment to reflect on how blessed we are to have these plants when they're magical properties. They have healing properties, they have spiritual, beautiful, energetic properties, that we want to make sure that as we gather them, we maybe even just take a moment to just express our gratitude. It could be something as simple as just saying thank you within all of our earnestness, just inside. If you're maybe really not up for singing to the plants, you could thank them aloud. The indigenous people made a practice of making an offering. Usually it was tobacco. For me, most of the time, it is just a simple matter of taking time to just kind of close my eyes and give reverence, and to thank the plant, to thank my beautiful mugwort for instilling her beautiful magical properties on us, and for the gift that we have of being able to reap the benefits of it. So just a side point, I think it's a really good thing to always remember to do. It's end of the day, and I just wanted to take some time to say thank you so much for watching my first ever video here on YouTube. I have big plans I'm excited about for other videos coming your way. If you watch this video and it inspires you to attempt to make a smudge bundle, I would love to hear how that goes for you down in the comment section. If perhaps you're not quite ready to do that yet, or perhaps you don't have access to the plants or the herbs that you might need, then I also have smudge bundles pre-made, ready to go in my shop. The ones we actually made today, I have some, the Peace of Mind bundles, as well as some other varieties. I will be sure to put the link in the description below for those of you that are interested in visiting. So that's a wrap. I am really excited about having you along for this new venture.